Welcome to LUTV News InFocus, where we feature interesting topics on campus, in the community, and the world of culture. I'm Dominique Leh. Candy Rodriguez began her multimedia journalist career at LUTV News. After college, her first job was at KPLC in Lake Charles. With hard work and dedication to her craft, Rodriguez is now at KXAN in Austin. In June, she contracted COVID-19 and was able to go back to work weeks later. Candy is here to speak with us about her experience with the virus and share insight on working as a television news reporter during a pandemic. Hi, Candy. How are you today?
Good. How are you, Dominique?
I'm doing well. So I know that you got tested on air for COVID back in June. So what was that like? And what was it like to get tested on air?
Well, I didn't get tested on air. I got tested on my own, and I just wanted to record it because I was just, at that time, it was at the beginning of June, it was mid-June, I should say, and not a lot of people had access to tests. I mean, if you remember, into late March, early April, throughout April, through May, it was very much of if a doctor gives you a note, then you can go get, not anyone could get tested. But at this time, our local public health department had opened it up for everyone who had, because this was following weekends and days of protest. So the public health department here in Austin opened it up to everyone and anyone who had been to the protest, who felt the need to get tested, they could. So a couple of my coworkers and myself, we were like, well, you know what, we should take advantage of it. You get tested, it's free, it's through the city. All right, let's do it. So we kind of all just did it as a way to just do it just to be safe. And I genuinely, Dominique, did not expect that it would come back positive. I really was not expecting that. And sure enough, it did. But I recorded it because I wanted to show the rest of my friends and family what it was like and what they could expect, because there was a lot of speculation online of like, oh, they shove it up all the way over here, or, you know, yada, yada, yada. So I kind of wanted to show like what it felt like. Well, I can't show you what it felt like, but I wanted to show you what it looked like. And that way you could see my reaction and maybe get a feeling and understanding of what it felt like.
Oh, wow. Okay. So like what was your reaction to whenever you found out? Like, how soon did you find out, and how did you feel when you found out?
Well, I was obviously devastated when I found out, because I had no idea. When I say I had no idea, let me put it to you this way. I had some symptoms. I had what you would assume would be typical allergy symptoms. So in my head, I was like, oh, it's just like the weather change, because it was starting to get a little bit hotter here in Texas. And I thought, oh, maybe it's just like going from that spring, you know, to the summertime. So I had a runny nose, I had a cough, I had headaches, my body started to ache, but I thought it was just, you know, I felt fatigued. I was just tired and exhausted. And I thought, well, that's just normal. You know, we're working really hard. We're doing our best to get information out to folks, especially right now. We're in the midst of COVID. We're still in the midst of COVID, but it was really like when we were trying to get that information out. So we were working a lot, and I was pushing myself. So I thought all those things were the reason that I was feeling so, you know, crappy. I was feeling just gross. And then I started to have shortness of breath. And I thought, oh, well, maybe I just have shortness of breath because I haven't been running. I haven't been on my bike, and I've just been at home, you know, kind of just been stagnant sitting here. So I was genuinely not expecting it to come back positive. And then when it did, everything that I was feeling made sense. And then honestly, as time progressed, I'm glad I knew, because into that next week and the following week, I was just, you know, I just felt like I couldn't breathe. And now I knew why. But luckily I stayed home. I got to just quarantine, let it pass, stayed home, and I slept like I've never slept before. I think I slept like 48 hours straight. I slept quite a bit, but it was definitely not the type of relaxing that you would do with like a cold, where you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna sleep, because I would simply be lying there and it felt like I was winded. Like, you know, when you go up a flight of stairs, you feel, ugh. I felt like that just lying down. So I can never really max out at my breathing capacity. Like I would always try to go for a deep breath, and I could just never get to that fulfillment.
When you said you were in quarantine, so when you were in quarantine, what did you do to pass that time? Because I assume you were in quarantine for 2 weeks or 10 days. Was it 10 days?
No, I just took a couple of days off because, believe it or not, I had been working the week that I had prior that I had COVID. Because here's what happened. So I signed up to get tested, and at this point, a lot of people wanted to get tested because, like I told you, the public health department had opened it up to people who had been to the protests. So there were quite a bit of folks who wanted to get tested. So I had to wait for a date. Once I got that date, it happened on a Saturday, and then it took a whole week before I got my test results back. During that time, I was still working. I just felt kind of crappy, but I just assumed that it was just because I was just tired. But I was still working. I was just working from home. So I'm still working from home for the most part. And during that time, we were heavily working from home. I mean, I'm doing Zoom interviews with people. I'm doing, going out to get B-roll by myself. Like, I'm just not, seeing anyone. I'm kind of staying to myself. So I was at home that whole week. So it wasn't until the week after I got tested that I found out, oh, I have COVID. And then I just took a couple of days off and worked again from home. But the days that I did take off, I just slept, if that answers your question.
So like, how has your daily life working as a reporter been affected by the pandemic?
Oh, well, it's totally, we're doing this right now, right? So this is my new norm, my new normal, if you want to call it that. I don't like to, but it is what it is. My day looks a little bit different in the sense that I'm not getting to interact with the community, and that's one of my biggest pleasures of this job. Like, that's my number one thing that I enjoy doing, is going out into the community and being able to physically interact with people and meet people and just hear their stories. And while you can still do that through, virtual interviews, whether that be Zoom, Cisco, WebEx, FaceTime, whatever you want to call it, it's just not the same. I think there's some sort of beauty in being able to go out into the community and be a field reporter, because you just come across people and you're just able to be like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Oh, okay. And so, like, with Zoom, it's like, it's a scheduled thing, right? Like, we had this interview scheduled. It was set up with, when you're out in the community as a reporter, it's just random. I can be at a gas station, be like, hey, what's up? How's it going? And I can't just like randomly start FaceTiming or Facebook video chatting with random people on the internet. Although I'm sure I could, but still. So that's changed in that perspective, that I'm, at home. It's setting up, doing Zoom interviews. If there's video in-house, like back in the station that we've shot before, file video, we'll use that. If we need video, I'll go shoot it, or if I need help, a photographer will go shoot it, and then they just upload it. Everything's uploaded into, sort of like this cloud for us. It's the system that we have. And then you just write your story, you put it together. And then for me, as the morning reporter, I would normally go live every morning. And I'm starting to go live a little bit more, especially with stories that require it to be live. But at the beginning, we were very specific about when, specifically breaking news. But if you're asking me like how COVID changed that, is, for example, this morning I did a look live in my living room. So, I'm just standing in my living room and kind of introducing my package and tagging it out. So that's different. And of course, with all of that, you miss your friends and you miss your family, which essentially are your coworkers, because that's what they become when you work with them day in and day out, and you're constantly at the station and you're there with them, and that camaraderie. You miss all of that because you're just at home by yourself, unless you have a pet.
No, absolutely. So what made you decide to like go into the whole broadcasting and news anchoring?
Well, as a journalist, I think it's very important to be able, for me, I just wanted to tell the community stories, honestly. Anything, whether it's like a problem, I want to help you solve that. If it's something informative, I want to get the word out. If it's something heartwarming, I want to share that. People love that. People want to hear that. So for me, it was a variety of things, right? For me, it was just basically telling the community story. That was pretty much it.
I really like that a lot. Well, thank you so much for your time, Candy. I really appreciate it. I had a great time talking to you.
Likewise. Thank you, Dominique. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching LUTV News in Focus. To see more content from LUTV News, follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook.